Hey there, guys, and welcome to another installment of A Hitchhiker's Guide to Early Access. This time, we're focusing on Dark Forge Games' Necro. So, Necro is a game I've been looking at for a long time, basically ever since the Kickstarter, which has been pretty hyped back when it was going on, because mostly because the art style they had going for this game was incredible. And it brought a lot of people back to things like Dungeon Keeper 2, especially. And with some fairly interesting old-school sensibilities, and, well, here we are. It is in beta and Steam Early Access right now, and very nearing release. It's had several very big updates recently, including some of the largest they've had pretty much ever, and it's been changing the game around quite a lot. So let's just get into it. This is Necro. This is my Necromancer. Right now, there are three that you can choose from. There is an Alchemist, who has kind of healing, supporty ability, things like that. There is a, what's he called? Grimkeeper, who is basically a Grenadier. And then there's the Outcast, which is a melee guy, and he seemed interesting to me. There are, I think, about two more that aren't in the game yet, but will be soon. You choose one of those for the campaign, and you get going. And, this is the pre-equipment screen, the sort of pre-mission screen that allows you to do various things. Now, you can get power and sins for doing missions that you can spend on things. Power upgrades your Necro. You can spend power to upgrade your statistics, like how much health you and your minions have, how much damage you and your minions do, the amount of blood you can hold, which is used for summoning stuff. You can also equip trinkets. Trinkets are different passive effects. These have just recently been overhauled to be passive effects of all kinds. Like, say, the Boom Bomb, which I just got. Every 20th unit killed will explode violently. Why wouldn't you want that? And then there's the Total Biscuit, which is actually pretty funny. And basically gives you extra armor while it's equipped, but also makes you invincible with a 5% chance on being hit and gives you a sweet top hat when it happens. I can also summon some fleas and get extra blood, which is nice. So, yeah, this is a system I like a lot. The fact that there are so many already, and I think there are even more, and they're planning, as it says on the Early Access page, to just add a crap ton of these things. They want a lot of them, and I very much approve. And you also have skills. You will have your basic attack skill, of course, and then you will start with another one. In this case, I'm Scorpion and can pull people to me, and then you can use power to buy more skills and equip them. Right now I have this scythe that fires out a sort of boomeranging scythe that does a bunch of AoE damage. Eventually I want to replace the chain with power armor. But for right now, this is what we got. And then the main meat of the game are the summons, because you are, after all, a Necromancer. You will always have Scourge. Your Scourge summon has a lot of uses. It's a very powerful AoE sort of nuke, but it also can be used to interact with the environment, which is something they've been focusing on recent updates a lot as well, adding different environmental summons, like being able to send one of these into a pumpkin to possess it and make a Jackie-O, a big pumpkin minion for you. And there are all kinds of interactions like that you use the Scourge for. And then you also have every one of these was actually a choice of two. As you can see here, I can choose the Shade or the Evil. I don't have the sins for either of them right now, but what I like is that this choice is mutually exclusive, and it has been for all of these, meaning everyone except for the Scourge, everyone ahead of here gives you two choices, and you can only choose one of them. And recently, they've also added this system right here, which every unit, again except for Scourge, has a specialization, one of two. So with the Skelebones, first of all, it has an upgrade called Raging Boner, which, I mean, why wouldn't you want an upgrade called that? Secondly, you can choose to either make it a melee slasher unit or a ranged archer. And the bonus is affected differently depending on what you have. And every unit has that. The horror can either be a vampiric big bat that gives me health, or a swarm of small bats that swarm, basically. And then you keep going, and each one of these is different. This actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Sacrifice, to be honest. This game is almost like a mixture of Dungeon Keeper aesthetic with Sacrifice gameplay elements. If you've never played Sacrifice by Shiny Entertainment, it is pretty much their finest product, in my opinion, and you should buy it. Go buy it. And it's a very interesting and very unique game. And also, of course, every one of these has upgrades. And we're just gonna head in, because I think I've said on this screen enough, to the extraction lands. You have to excuse my voice, it's a little raspy right now. And here we are, welcome to Necro. I am a necromancer, necromancing things. So I just gotta get this nonsense, get some blood, and then I can summon some minions. Now, some minions require a corpse to be summoned, and others, like say my bats, get a bonus when summoned on corpses. The skeleton there needs a corpse. Uh-oh. Oh god! That's not good. Alright, I'm gonna take that guy down. Got some power to spend, and we're gonna summon another skeleton. Now, I like that pretty much every summon actually differs. Everyone has a different kind of bonus associated with summoning it from a corpse, which is kind of cool. And, this goes on to one of the first big things I want to talk about when it comes to the game. And that is, it's very unique. There aren't many games like it. When I send some Scourge out here. I've not really seen any games in this vein. Indeed. Possibly ever? I'm not sure. It has some familiarities, yes. But I don't know. I think it's pretty unique. It seems very unlike most things that I've played recently, which is a good thing, by the way. And also, these guys are kicking the crap out of me. I'm gonna get a bunch of blood saved up, so my skeletons can be revived once, which is very nice. I can just use let's use the Scourge on them. There we go. And let's get some bats. And some more blood. I want to get up to a bunch of blood so I can summon a punge. There we go. Let's summon a punge. Boop. Oh yeah, bile punge. I like the fact that every unit now has 2 different specializations, which change it rather drastically, and there's a lot of mutually exclusive choice in the game, which is a good thing in my opinion, because it makes you, well, it makes you choose, obviously, but it also makes the gameplay drastically different all the time. Essentially meaning that every playthrough is actually going to be different, because there's going to be several different Necros to choose from, as well as, of course, a bunch of different trinkets to equip, and a crap ton of different summons, different specializations for those summons, and different upgrades for those summons, which basically adds up to being something really, really interesting to me. It's different, and I like different. I think that there's enough here right now, even though it's in early access, to say that I'm pretty comfortable with recommending it in its current state, because for one, there's a lot of content already. There's like 3/4 of the campaign is finished, and 3 out of the 5 Necros currently planned are in it already. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. This is not the best thing. You've also got the fact that there are a ton of summons in it already, each with their own upgrades and specializations, which adds, you know, a lot of, oh god, a lot of value to play. And there's also the fact that the replayability is already quite high. Man, that mission just destroyed me. And with replayability this high, it is difficult to... It's difficult to not recommend, I think, something like this. Do I want the... I do like the Bile Punge, but I think maybe I'll use the Magma Punge, which is a big, tanky version. Keep my Airbane. The horrors that heal me are nice. The Skelebones that attack like that are good, so we'll go with that. We'll try this loadout instead. A bit different. So, Dark Forge Games has had this in early access for a while. It had a very successful Kickstarter, and, you know, made quite a bit of money, and they've continued on with that goodwill and made something very enjoyable. And the recent large, sweeping changes and the various patches they've had really impress me. They're focusing on variety and on replayability, it seems. That seems to be, for the most part, what their kind of current goals are in reference to how they want to build this game. And I have a lot of respect for that. Because, I mean, I'm a very variety-focused gamer. Oh! I love variety in games. I absolutely adore the idea that they want to make something very highly replayable with a lot of variance in each playthrough. And I also love the fact that they are forcing you into a lot of mutually exclusive choices where you have to choose very specific, very specific ways to tackle problems, very specific ways that you're going to, do your playthrough, and then just kind of see what happens and go with it. I like that because, again, I'm a very big fan of Shiny's Sacrifice games, and that had a lot of the same thing where your unit composition and all the different specializations and things were full of very mutually exclusive choices where you had to decide pretty early on what kind of things you wanted in your army. And this is very much in the same vein. This is not that Sacrifice-like, obviously gameplay-wise, but in terms of just how it feels, and of course the aesthetic is also pretty Sacrifice-esque. Ow. It's actually a pretty huge deal, in my opinion, just how much they've already improved and differed the game from its original state as a good but small-scale project, I would say. They've really improved it significantly, and variety is something they're focusing on so much that I just can't help but have a lot of respect for that. So, again, when it comes to this series, I always make sure to let people know that Early Access comes with the big caveat that, of course, a game could never be finished. And I recommend games that have a good track record of very interesting updates, a good community interaction and management, and very interesting ideas that seem very well on the way to actually being finished. And I'm happy to say that this is another one of those. They have been updating the game very frequently. Very, very frequently. And they are continuously adding and polishing. And that's important because a lot of early access titles that I don't have a lot of faith in, you see things like them constantly adding new features without really doing anything to polish the current framework of the features they already have. And you end up with a kind of shallow feeling experience that has variety that could be interesting, but the variety is built on nothing. It's built on shallow mechanics and unsatisfying gameplay. And that is the unfortunate state that early access games tend to go towards. And, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. And I'm very happy to say that this game is definitely not among that kind of crowd. The game itself seems to have a lot of promise, and the company knows what they're doing. Yeah, Dark Forge knows what they want to make, and they're trying to make it, and that's that. They understand what would make their game more enjoyable, more variety, these cool mutually exclusive choices, really awesome art direction and character design, by the way. It's awesome. And an overall, more or less, focus, basically, on playing to the strengths that they have and sharpening up and polishing up the current game mechanics that they've been very good at implementing so far. Combat needs a bit of work, in my opinion. The combat, I think, could be a little more satisfying with a bit more visual feedback and impact to the attacks. Especially when it comes to the big creatures like the Punj over there. I think there needs to be a little more combat feedback. I feel that there could be they could do a bit of a better job with giving attacks some impact and stuff. Like, for instance, the Scourge explosions are pretty impressive and have a good feeling of feedback. And some of the other attacks don't have quite as good a feeling. So I think that that's one thing that could be fixed. That's something that could be altered. to feel a little bit better. But again, they're very well on their way to continuously making improvements. I think that once the actual campaign is finished, that it'll be a very worthwhile experience. I think that once they've got a ton of these trinkets like finished up, that there'll be a ton of variety in each playthrough. And once they have all the Necros in, there will be just a king of variety in this game. And I think that's going to be its biggest strength, is how varied the game can actually be for people. So if this is something that looks interesting to you, and again, you are okay with the early access model, which I understand that everyone is, and that's fine, then I would very much recommend it. Again, it's pretty near finished, so I don't really have, with Dark Forge Games' track record with updates and constant like community interaction and things like that, I don't have a problem with saying this game is going to be finished one day, and probably sooner rather than later. They've had such good, large updates as of late that it's difficult to imagine them just suddenly abandoning it. But again, I have to say, just because it's early access, that it's possible that could happen. I mean, I have to put that caveat out there. I just very highly doubt it this time around, because it seems to me like they very much know what they're doing. They have a passion for their product. They have a big amount of very solid player feedback that they're constantly kind of looking towards for feature interactions and new features and things like that. But they're also not just doing the kind of like Daisy model of just listening only to their community and adding a bunch of features without polishing any of them up, which is something that you should never do, by the way. And to me, honestly, I've got to say that it seems Dark Forge is creating something very unique. Very unique. And with the track record they've got of how well and often they've been updating it, they just recently added a bunch of new stuff, like this whole summon specialization, a bunch of new Necro skills, and the passive trinket system with a bunch of new trinkets. Like, that's all new stuff that they're kind of focusing on, and that's awesome. They've done such a good job so far of just making it more and more enjoyable, and as time has gone on, they've added so much to it, so much new stuff, that it's, I find it very difficult to imagine that it's going to have an unsatisfying, unfinished, not released kind of thing. It just seems so unlikely that that would happen. So here you go, folks. Necro. It is a very interesting isometric kind of action RPG with a focus on being a necromancer with cool skills, summoning twisted creatures, and making your way through a very interesting path of destruction, attempting to break everything in your way and or bend it to your will. It's got some really interesting concepts, some very awesome art direction and creature design, some fun levels, and a pretty good voice actor as well, which I'll let you hear. Got some things. I orphaned 49 children. I'm very glad. That's, I wake up in the day trying to do stuff like that. As you can see, the game has the kind of dungeon keeper twisted sense of humor as well.
55th day of Precious, 499, on the 23rd day of the Luda-Loost. Upon entering the church, a familiar sense of worship beguiled my senses. The place itself has changed little, though the worships have changed much. Barnabas once considered my closest friend and confidant, the man who betrayed me to the king, now reigns as his high priest here. And though his sins be legion, I claim my vengeance for his most grievous. He and his ilk travel amongst the denizens of the city on restful mornings, rousing the simple folk from their slumbers for the masturbatory self-pleasure of attempting to convert them. Oh, I end his unholy sermons this night, freeing the city from the false god king. Once I would have done this in the name of Kithaeros, but he betrayed me in our deaths. Now I do this for Clear, Lord of Chaos, Doom, and all things slightly off kilter.
Yeah. That, my friends, that is Necro. It's highly interesting, and I love the art design in this game. So, thanks for watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it's very much to your liking. The game itself is just a ton of fun. And, ooh, I want to see what these look like. Let's see. A Psionic Lich. That sounds fun. Or an Ethereal Death Wraith. Yeah, let's do that. Boop. Nice. Let's see, a Shade Mimic follows the Necro, fires with ultra high damage bolts, can't be targeted and takes no damage. Or a Shade Guardian. Ooh, cool, cool. Broodmother, full bondage, Blood Debt. Let's do that. Oh, I can't do that. Let's not do that. Well, there you go, everyone. This is something that's very, very interesting to me. I'd have to say that I'm enjoying it so much that I can't quite stop playing, and I think that all the systems they currently have are very interesting and developing very well, and that I'm really looking forward to the release. I plan to do another video of this on release, or if a bunch of very large updates come out and they still haven't released it yet. So there you go, folks. Just look. Just go to the Steam page, which I'll link you to, and look at the various bits of updates they've had, and you can just see for yourself how much they've done to actually improve and change this game over a very short period of time. The last, 2 or 3 updates are really good reading and show that they know what they're doing. They have a good direction, and they're going in it quite well. So thanks, Dark Forge, for being awesome and making a cool game, and thank you guys for watching. This has been Necro. In early access right now. You can buy it for $20. There are some other editions available as well. And that's it for me for now. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.